Welcome to today's What Moved the Market show. I'm your host Prem. It's Monday, September 29th, 2025, and here is everything you need to know as the markets close for today. Let's dive straight into how the benchmarks fared. The Sensex closed at 80,364, down around 60 points or 0.08%, marking a largely flat end after swinging in both directions all day. The Nifty 50 wrapped up at 24,635, slipping about 20 points or 0.08%. The Bank Nifty mirrored that caution, closing near 53,600, reflecting choppy action as traders held back ahead of the RBI's crucial policy decision coming up later this week. Sentiment remains cautiously optimistic, with investors caught between nervous global cues and anticipation over central bank moves. Despite this, the Indian Rupee showed resilience and strengthened to settle around 88.7 per US dollar, a notable gain that lifted banking and PSU stocks. The rupee's UPTICK adds relief for importers and keeps market nerves in check amidst foreign fund outflows. Turning to movers and shakers, oil and gas names led the charge today. NTPC and SBI put in robust gains on the back of sector rotation and hopes of strong quarterly numbers for power and PSU banks. Titan and Trent also featured among top gainers, benefiting from consumer demand trends and positive analyst commentary. On the flip side, Axis Bank, Maruti Suzuki, Bharti Airtel, and ICICI Bank were prominent laggards. Private sector banks saw profit-taking after last week's rally, while Maruti and Bharti Airtel faced headwinds from adverse regulatory signals and weaker auto demand. Meanwhile, the Nifty Mid-Cap Index delivered a modest gain of 0.27%. Technically, Nifty faced stiff resistance around the 24,700 to 24,800 zone, but struggled to break through. Support held at the 24,600 to 24,500 band, keeping downside contained. As for Bank Nifty, support at 53,500 proved pivotal, while the ceiling at 53,900 remains a hurdle for bulls. Sectoral action saw oil and gas along with PSU banks take the leadership baton, fueled by favorable global cues and policy tailwinds. In contrast, pharmaceutical stocks came under pressure amid concerns about steep US tariffs on Indian exports, and auto stocks struggled after mixed monthly delivery data. On the regulatory front, the RBI Monetary Policy Committee meeting has kicked off, with consensus widely expecting no rate change but a possible dovish message to anchor market confidence. Investors stayed focused on macro headlines as US-India trade talks and RBI policy cues remain the key agenda for this week. In the commodities space, crude oil prices dipped slightly, bringing relief to energy-dependent sectors. Gold traded around 1% up, while silver was stronger by 4%, mostly due to the weekend increase. Base metals like copper and aluminum clocked modest moves in sync with China data and global supply trends. Globally, Asian markets sent mixed signals today, weighed by uncertainty over fresh US tariffs on Indian pharma exports and tougher expectations for H-1B US work visas, which hit large-cap IT stocks. President Trump's renewed stance on trade tariffs continued to cast a shadow on global risk appetite, reinforcing sector-specific volatility in pharma and IT. Looking ahead to tomorrow's session, the Nifty's sideways to bearish pattern will persist unless a decisive close above the 24,800 mark rejuvenates bulls. Watch for support at 24,500, with a break below that opening the door for further correction. For Bank Nifty, resistance at 53,900 is crucial. A push above could trigger upside momentum, while support at 53,500 will anchor the downside. Traders should remain agile, with macro policy updates and US-India trade talks acting as possible catalysts for swings in sentiment. Risk remains skewed to event headlines, especially as the holiday-shortened week increases volatility. Today's cautious undertone and sector rotation call for selective positioning. Look for opportunities in PSU banks and quality oil and gas names, as policy clarity over the next few days could trigger strong moves. A disciplined approach around key support and resistance levels will be vital. Avoid chasing momentum and watch for confirmation on breakouts. That's all for today's wrap. Don't forget to send in your questions and tune in for tomorrow morning's show. Stay tuned for our next market update, and until then, trade smart and stay informed.